Hey everyone, welcome back to TechOps tutorial. In this video, we are going to understand what actually happens inside the Kubernetes control plane. We will look at how these core components run, how they are managed, and more importantly, how to debug when things go wrong. We will focus on three key areas: static pod, how Kubelet keeps everything running, and how to debug even when Kubelet is not working. So let's get started. Let's look at a real situation. You run kubectl get pods and it just timeout. Then you try kubectl get nodes, still no response. Now you try checking API server health directly and even that is failing. At this point, API server is not reachable. And once API server is down, kubectl becomes useless. You cannot check pods, you cannot check nodes, you cannot do anything. And from outside, the cluster looks completely down. Now imagine this in production. Everything is running, but you have no way to control it. So the big question is, now what? How do you debug Kubernetes when Kubernetes itself is not responding? Before we go deeper, let's quickly recap the control plane. We already covered this earlier, so I will keep it simple. API server is the entry point. All requests go through it. Scheduler decide where pod should run. Control manager makes sure the cluster stay in the expected state, and it stores all the cluster data. One important thing to remember, all these components talk through the API server. They don't directly talk to each other. Alright, now let's move forward and see what's really happening behind the scene. Now here is something very important. Control plane components are not normal pods. Let me explain the difference. On the left side, you can see the normal pods work. You see kubelet, request goes through API server, scheduler decides the node, and then the pod is created. So normal pods depends on full Kubernetes flow. But on the right side, control plane works differently. It uses local manifest files. Kubelet reads those files directly and starts the container. No API server needed to start them, no scheduler involved. That's why even if API server is down, control plane components can still run. Also remember, these are managed directly by Kubelet. They are tied to the node and the configuration comes from local YAML files. This is what we call static pod. Alright, now let's understand what static pods are. Static pods are managed directly by Kubelet on a node. That means they don't depend on the control plane to start. Instead of using the API server, we define them using local YAML files on the node itself. The kubelet keeps watching that file and make sure the pod is always running. If the pod crashes, kubelet brings it back. If you remove the file, the pod is removed. So everything is controlled locally on that node. Also, these pods are tied to a specific node. They won't move to another node like normal pods. A common example is control plane components. They often run as a static pods. In simple terms, static pods runs directly on the node and kubelet takes care of everything. Now let's look at an important folder in Kubernetes. This is the /etc/kubernetes/manifest folder. This folder is very important because it holds all the control plane configuration files. Inside this folder, you will find files like kube-apiserver, kube control manager, kube scheduler, and etc. Each of these files defines how that component should run. Now here is the key part. The kubelet keeps watching this folder. If you make any changes in these files, kubelet will quickly apply those changes. If a container stops, kubelet will restart it automatically. So basically, this folder controls your control plane. In simple words, this folder is the source of truth for control plane components. Now let's understand how Kubelet actually manage everything. Think of Kubelet like a watcher on the node. It keeps an eye on the manifest folder all the time. First, it keeps watching the folder continuously. Now, if a new file is added, Kubelet will recreate a pod from it. If you update or change the file, Kubelet will restart the pod with a new changes. If you remove the file, Kubelet will delete that pod. And after that, it goes back to watching again. This process keeps running in a loop, so you don't need to run any command manually. In simple words, Kubelet watches, reacts, and keeps everything running. Now let's understand how API server and etcd works together. Think of API server as the entry point of the cluster. Every request goes through it. It talks to all components and acts like a central place of communication. Now on the other side, we have etcd. Etcd is where all the cluster data is stored. It keeps the current state of everything. So whenever API server needs to read or save something, it connects to etcd. You can think of it like this. API server handles the request and etcd stores the data. Both of them keep talking to each other, but here is the important part. If etcd goes down, API server cannot work properly because there is no data to read or write. In simple words, API server handles the request, etcd stores the cluster data, and both must work together. Now let's understand how components talk to each other inside Kubernetes. All communication goes through a API server. That means components like scheduler, control manager, kubelet, and even etcd. They don't talk to each other directly. Instead, they always go through API server. For example, the scheduler does not directly talk to kubelet. It sends the update to the API server and kubelet reads that update from there. Same things with a control manager. It updates the cluster state using the API server. So API server acts like a central hub for all communication. In simple words, no direct communication between components. Everything goes through the API server. In this slide, let's talk about where things usually go wrong. Even a small mistake can break your whole cluster. And most of the time, it's not something complex. It's small configuration issue. First one, wrong files in your manifest. If you pass the wrong flag, your API server might not even start. Next, etcd connectivity issue. If your cluster cannot talk to etcd, you can lose access to your data. Then we have a certificate problems. If certificate expires or not valid, authentication will fail. And finally, YAML mistake. A small typo in your configuration file can stop things from working. Here a quick example. If your etcd server IP is wrong, your API server will crash. So the key takeaway is simple. Most cluster issue comes from small configuration mistake, not a big problem. Now let's move to a quick demo. Here we will see the control plane components behaves in a real time and how the system recovers when something breaks. First we will go to the manifest folder. This is where the control plane components are defined. Next, we open the kube-apiserver config file. This helps us to understand how the API server is set up. Now comes to an interesting part. We break it. We will simply rename the API server manifest file. When we do this, the API server will stop running. After that, we watch what happens. Kubelet detects that something is missing and it tries to bring it back automatically. Then we debug without using Kubelet. We use tools like CRI-CTL and journalctl to check what's going on. Finally, we verify recovery. We check if the API server is back and responding. So this demo shows a real-world situation, how Kubernetes detect issue and recover on its own. And the key takeaway here is, If you understand how control plane works, troubleshooting becomes much easier. Now let's move to the Kubeadm 3-node cluster and implement this step by step. I will switch to the terminal. Now we will break the API server and see how this actually works in real cluster. We will log into the control plane node where the control components run. I have already logged into the master node. We will first go to the location where control plane components are defined. etc Kubernetes manifest. You should see files like kube-apiserver, scheduler, control manager and etc YAML files. These files confirms that the control plane runs from this folder. Before breaking anything, let's confirm cluster is working. kubectl get nodes, kubectl get pods -and kube system. All nodes should be ready and control plane pod should be running. Now let's verify API server container is running. Sudo CRI-CTL ps grab kube API server. Provide the sudo password. API server is running. Now we will simulate a failure by removing the API server manifest from the watch directory. Sudo mv/etc Kubernetes manifest kube-apiserver.yaml. I will move this file to tmp. Kubelet will detect that the manifest is no longer present and stop the API server container. Let's wait for a few seconds so Kubelet can detect the changes. Still it is running. Let's wait for a few more seconds. Now there is no output. Check kubectl get pods. API server container is gone. Kubelet is failing with connection refused. This means the control plane entry point is down. Now imagine this in production. What you will do next? First thing in troubleshooting, check Kubelet logs. Look at these logs. Connection refused, failed to get status. This means Kubelet is trying to talk to API server, but API server is down. You can also check with -n20. Now let's check container without Kubelet. You see all components here: API server, control manager, scheduler, etc. Some containers are exited. These are from previous restart. Even when Kubelet is not working, CRI-CTL still works. Let's check if Kubelet is still running. systemctl status Kubelet. The service is active and running. Kubelet is still running even though the API server is down. You might see some error here. This is because Kubelet is trying to talk to API server, but it cannot connect. And this is very important. Kubelet works independently and continues running even when API server is down. Now we will restore the API server by moving the manifest file back to a manifest directory. Sudo mv/tmp kube-apiserver.yaml etc Kubernetes manifest. Kubelet will detect the file again and automatically start the API server container. Let's wait for a few seconds for Kubelet to bring back the API server. Then you can check or verify the recovery using sudo CRI-CTL grep kube-apiserver. 25 seconds ago, the kube-apiserver started. Let's run kubectl get nodes. Okay, API server is back. Nodes are ready again. Now we will quickly look at the API server manifest to understand how it configured. Sudo cat, I will mention full path. We are already there in the same path. Sudo cat /etc Kubernetes manifest kube-apiserver.yaml. You will see a full configuration of the API server in YAML format. This is the actual configuration running your cluster. Now this may look like a big file, but let me show you just a couple of important lines. /server. This line tells the API server where /set is running. If this is wrong, API server will not start. Next is secure port 6443. This is the port where API server listen. All kubelet request comes here. So even a small mistake in this file can break your entire cluster. That's why system administrator need to be very careful while editing these manifest. Now we will check where /set stores the cluster data on this node. You should see a directory called member. This is the local data directory used by /set. All cluster data is stored here. That includes things like pod, nodes, configuration. So earlier we said API server is the brain, /set is the memory. This is the actual location where that memory lives. If this data is lost or corrupted, your entire cluster state is gone. We already saw how to take a backup of /set in a previous video. Here we just understanding where that data actually exists. This is how you debug Kubernetes when Kubelet is not working. Go to the node, check the Kubelet logs, use CRI-CTL and fix the issue from there. Now let's switch back to the slide. Alright, that's it for this video. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe for more real-world DevOps content. I will be sharing simple and practical tutorial on Kubernetes, Docker and cloud topics every week. Also, take some time to learn how /set backup works. It's very important, especially if you are working with production cluster. So don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one.